Why do we give shalach manos? Why do we send gifts? We give presents so that we create a connection with the other person. We say, I think about you, I care about you. We know that that's one of the keys to our salvation, is to have unity in Klal Yisrael. The highest level of charity is, I give someone charity, I don't know who I'm giving it to, and they don't know where it's coming from. Someone who gives a matana to his friend, you have to tell him who it's from. And I always thought, probably so the person can be able to say thank you. But Rashi says not like that. Laharbas Reyes, to promote friendship. You're giving it so that he knows that I care about him. Give shalach manos, the salvation of the Jewish people, let's remember, is going to be through creating achdut and unity in Klal Yisrael.
Today's episode is sponsored by Boris M Tax Planning and Advisory. Schedule your free tax strategy session online and get started now. Call us at 212-430-6881 to learn more.
Beruchim Abayim, and welcome to Torah Talks Chazaq's program with special guests. We have with us Rabbi Avrohom Feldman. Baruch haba, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Hashem, so good to see you. And we're going to be discussing bridging Purim and Pesach. And before we get to the exciting topic, if you get a little bit of background about yourself.
Sure. I grew up in Baltimore and learned in Ner Yisrael and Tzvi and in Lakewood, and then
Ner Yisrael, we have to mention your uncle, Rabbi
yes.
Aaron Feldman.
Yes, that is my uncle.
Rosh Yeshiva.
And then I eventually I was involved in Jewish education and Rabbanus, and I was in Atlanta for many years, and then I was a rabbi in Columbus, Ohio, and then eventually made my way back to the Northeast. And currently now I'm living here,
Queens,
not far from you.
Baruch Hashem. Chaz Hashem. It's great to have the rabbi in town. And Baruch Hashem, you're coming to the shul, to the kehillah, and giving chizuk, and we really appreciate that. So talking about the topic, what common message is there, or is there a common message theme between Purim and Pesach?
Yes, I think there is, and that is the Gemara, the Talmud says that at the end of Maseches Tanis, it says, Misha Nichnas Adar, well-known thing, Misha Nichnas Adar, Marbim B'Simcha. When Adar begins, then we're supposed to increase happiness. So always be happy, we're supposed to increase the happiness. And Rashi says there, to explain that, Rashi says, Yemei Nisim LiYisrael, days of miracles for Israel, Purim uPesach. So Rashi ties together right away. He tells us that, Rashi tells us there's a connection. So I don't believe this is conjecture. Yemei Nisim LiYisrael, Purim uPesach, which means that Rashi understands that there is a connection between Purim and Pesach, which is interesting in and of itself, because one might think, that might be the next thing that you may want to ask, though. What is the connection between Purim and Pesach?
Right, I was going to ask you.
Okay, so the connection is, the way I understand it, is that Yemei Nisim LiYisrael, days of miracles for Yisrael, Purim and Pesach. There's a fundamental difference, well-known idea that the Nisim, the miracles on Pesach, and the miracle that happened on Purim to save the Jewish people, both the miracles on Pesach, where God took the Jewish people out of Egypt, and the miracle on Purim, which is how the story played out, both for the purpose, of course, to save the Jewish people from being destroyed. So, but there's a difference, and the difference is that on Pesach, the miracles are that we talk about in the Haggadah, and we sit at the Seder, and we talk about the Eser Makos, the 10 plagues, and we talk about Kriyas Yam Suf. All those miracles are what we call Nisim Gluyim, revealed, open, public, obvious miracles, L'malam Menateva, above nature. So that is what we call, a miracle. But when we look at the story of Purim, we find that if you read the story on the surface, it looks okay, it was one event after another, and this happened to happen, and this happened to happen, and Esther happened to become the queen, and Mordechai happened to overhear some important information. A series of events that led to the salvation of the Jewish people, ultimately. So what's going on? They're really two different things. So the idea is that, and this is cited in several places, the people quote the Ramban at the end of Parshas Bo. The Ramban Nachmanides says that it is from the Uminanisim Hagadolam Hamaforsamim, from the public miracles, through the public miracles, a person realizes that even the quote unquote hidden miracles, or what people call teva, nature, is not really nature. Everything is a miracle. Right. And therefore the same source, the same being, meaning God, that caused the splitting of the sea, and the same God that caused that made the Eser Makos, all those things, the same source is the one that caused all these events to transpire. So even though it was a hidden miracle, it's no less miraculous. And then we go back to Rashi, Yemei Nisim li Yisrael, Purim and Pesach. They're Nisim. Rashi doesn't distinguish between the Nisim. Rashi says they're exactly the same thing. There is no difference between the sun rising, the sun setting, and Kriyas Yamsuf. There's absolutely no difference, regardless that sometimes there are people in the world who want to explain the Eser Makos as a natural course of events and something happening in the ecosystem that's causing it.
Right. Wow, very, very powerful. There are those that make a comment, and that comment is that Purim equals or is like or similar to something called Halloween.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. So I certainly can understand why.
I guess the costumes.
Yes, the costumes. Certainly
the candies.
The costumes, the candies, the parties, the masquerade parties. So this is true if you look at it on the surface. It certainly can understand why somebody would think that Purim is the Jewish Halloween.
Right.
However, this leads into or connects to what we said before. And that is, a lot of the Mefarshim explained that the custom to wear costumes on Purim comes from the idea that the whole the miracles on Purim, the salvation, came about through hidden means. You did not see the hand of God.
Right.
It wasn't
God's name is not mentioned also in the Megillah.
Very good. God's name is not mentioned in the Megillah. Right, it's alluded to famously. The Vilna Gaon says every time it says Ha Melech, the king, it really means God, because God is orchestrating everything. But Esther, the Gemara says, the Talmud says, quoting the pasuk in Devarim, in Deuteronomy, says, God says to the Jewish people, there's going to be a time when you go into Galut, your relationship with me is not going to be the same as your relationship was when it was in Eretz Yisrael and the Beit HaMikdash. I'm going to still be there, but it's not going to be the same. You're not going to see me. It's not going to be obvious to you. Torah says, Vanochi Aster, Haster, Panai, I will certainly hide my face. So the Talmud explains, Aster, Haster, it's an allusion hidden to Esther, because the whole series of events that led to the salvation of Bnei Yisrael, to the Jewish people, was through hidden means. The miracles were not obvious, as we said before. And so, yes, and that's the idea. So if someone looks on the surface of what Purim is, it's nothing. They can look, oh, it's just like Halloween. The way to understand Purim is to look beyond the mask. And that's the idea of dressing up on Purim. Right. So in order to get to the depths of something, you have to go beyond the superficial. Right. You have to go pull away the veil, pull away the mask, and that's how you see the miracles of Purim. If you just read the story of Purim, it's a great read. It never gets boring. I love the story every single year. Right. But there's so much depth to it, obviously, and so many hidden ideas. And then that's the idea. So it's the only way to look at it more than Halloween is to actually study it in depth.
Right. It's Megillat Esther. Megillah comes from Gilui, which is to reveal, and Esther, like you just said, is Hester, which means hidden. So by learning the Megillah, you'll be able to see that which is hidden and reveal it.
Right.
That's the concept also, that we open up the Megillah completely. Why? Because if you look at a certain part of the Megillah, it doesn't make sense. But when you open it all up, you see the whole picture.
The whole picture.
Everything makes sense.
There are many, very good. There are many themes, about the idea of the theme of being the whole idea of Purim is what's beyond the surface.
100%. So we touched on Purim, and we connected to Pesach beautifully. The rabbi did. If you could give some chizuk, some inspiration, or how to make Pesach meaningful.
Okay.
More meaningful.
Yeah. So I would say like this. What could we say? Well, let's just talk about let's focus on one aspect of Pesach, which, interestingly, we don't do it exactly like we used to because we don't do the Korban Pesach, but the message is still there, and we'll see. I think will even connect to Purim as well, and that is. So we have the Korban Pesach, the sacrifice, the Paschal Lamb, as they call it. So you have a Korban Pesach. That was the main event on Pesach when we had the Beit HaMikdash. I mean, it was an all-day event. There was even the Mishnah discusses, the rabbis discuss how there was no room in the chutzner of the Beit HaMikdash for everybody, the courtyard, for everybody to bring their sacrifices. They had to do it in, they had to do certain things to make sure everybody was able to, that there was room for everybody to do it. So, but the sheep, there's a theme in the Korban Pesach that revolves around the concept of one and unity. This is not my idea. This is the Maharal's idea. The Maharal explains that the Korban Pesach, we find that it has to be a 1-year-old lamb. We also find that it has to be eaten in one group, chabura achat. And if you have a group, there's a group they're eating the Korban Pesach together, somebody can't break off from that group and go do it himself. It has to be eaten b'chabura achat, one group together. There are different groups, obviously. And then it also has to be roasted, right? Barbecued, roasted over a fire, an open fire, and not cooked. So what's this whole idea? So first of all, one we see it has to be 1 year old. Okay, it has to be also, it can't have any blemishes. It has to be complete. It also has to be eaten in one, as I mentioned, chabur acha. It has to be one group. It also has to be tzliesh. It has to be roasted. What does that have to do with everything we said till now? Because anybody who's cooked or barbecued notices that when you cook meat, what happens to the meat when you cook it? It gets softer, and then pulls apart. When we roast something over a fire, it actually binds. It binds more and more together. That's what happens. You roast it or try it. It gets closer and closer, and it binds together. It's completely the opposite of being cooked. It's not a Korban Pesach. If you can slaughter, do everything right, have all the right intentions. If it's cooked, it's not going to work. But it has to be roasted, because the idea of the Korban Pesach is the concept of the Jewish people being one nation, right? All revolving around the oneness of God. That's the idea of the sacrifice on Pesach.
Beautiful.
And the idea, how do we do that? We do that. There are many ways that we're able to create achdut and unity in Klal Yisrael. One of the ways is, first of all, chabura achat. The idea is we're serving God at the same time. We have to do it b'chabura achat. It means we're caring about the other person's spiritual welfare and his physical welfare, that he has food to eat. And that's why we start Pesach with, the whole Seder starts with, we're inviting people in. Okay, why we invite people in after we already have our guests there? I'll leave that for everybody to discuss at their Pesach Seder, because it's interesting that we invite everyone. I'm not inviting anybody, but that's it. You could do that for somebody else for another podcast. Why would we do that? Okay, but the idea is that that's the idea of the Korban Pesach, is that we have this unity, and that's also Purim also revolves around that. We have obviously one of the themes of the day. One of the mitzvot of the day is shalach manos. Why do we give shalach manos?
Sending gifts to one
another. Why do we send gifts? right? To promote reyes, to promote unity. We know that's one of the keys to our salvation is to have unity in Klal Yisrael. We give presents so that we create a connection with the other person. They say, I think about you, I care about you. And it's interesting, there's a Gemara that says that when someone, in contrast to tzedakah, whereas in charity, the highest level of charity is, I give someone charity, and I don't know who I'm giving it to. Beseter, hidden, and they don't know that it's coming, where it's coming from.
Right. That's the highest level.
Highest level. But what it says, Hanosein matana lachavero, someone who gives a matana to his friend, sarach la'idio. You have to tell him who it's from. Why do you have to tell him who it's from? And I always thought, probably so the person can be able to say thank you. But Rashi says not like that. Rashi in Maseches Beitza says, laharbas reyes, to promote friendship. He should know that it came from me. Mm. You're giving it so that he knows that I care about him, and that's exactly what they decreed. Give shalach manos, the salvation of the Jewish people. Let's remember is going to be through creating achdut and unity in Klal Yisrael.
100% beautiful. Besides for mishlach manos on Purim, there's also the concept of lech kenoset kol Yehudim. That's what Esther did. Why? Because before that, what was the comment that Am Mefuzar, they were a scattered nation. They weren't
Mefuzar Mefurad Beino Amen. Right.
I saw that. That's the idea of unity as well.
Yeah.
Right. To be united, to be one, to be together. And I also saw and I heard something beautiful once. I'm trying to remember from who, but the concept is beautiful, and that is that you prepare your mishlach manot, your list of gifts of who you're giving it out to. Take it and rip it up. And whoever's not on the list is where you should give it out.
Very good.
To create reyes, to create friendship and love. Beautiful, Rabbi Feldman. A very, very nice, inspiring messages and gems. We have a minhag, a custom, which is a final message for our broad audience.
Okay, the final message is, well, first of all, thanks for having me on.
Of course.
Should have said that first.
No, it's okay.
I think that, in light of this idea of giving shalach manos, what comes to mind is, first of all, to take the concept. The idea is to take what the Yom Tif, the messages of the Yom Tif, Purim, Pesach, and take it with us into everyday life. And one way to be let's talk about being mar barayot, right? Creating more unity, creating more friendship in Klal Yisrael. Sometimes, let's say my level of chesed is between a scale of 1 to 10, so I'm doing a 6 level. That someone is. So it reminds me of in one of the Talmudic sources, Avos de Rav Nosson, there's a conversation that Job, who is known as the person that suffered the most, so much, terrible, terrible tragedies and financial distress and physical distress. And he says to God, I don't understand why this is happening to me. Did I not feed those who are hungry? Did I not give food? Did I not give wine to those that were thirsty? Or give water to those that were thirsty? And God responds, well, once you're bringing up the subject, okay, yeah, true, you did that, but you're not even close to Avrohom Avinu. So he says, why? He says, Avrohom Avinu, Abraham said, Abraham, to people that he normally gave barley bread, he gave wheat bread. To people that normally drank a certain level of wine, he gave them a better wine. But you, Eov, you did what you were supposed to do. And not only that, Avrohom Avinu, you were Makar of people, Eov, you did Kiruv, right? But Avrohom Avinu, you did like Chazaq does. Avrohom Avinu, what did he do? He went out. Eov, you waited for people to come, and you did it. Avrohom Avinu, he looked for opportunities proactively, right? So the idea is, whatever tzedakah or whatever chesed that we're going to do, wherever we are, try to do a little bit more. That's the message. Do a little bit more. And that's what that's what God wants from us, to do a little bit more than we're used to doing. Job did great things. He gets a mitzvah, but the highest level, what the Talmud is telling us, the highest level is to do extra like Avram Avinu did.
Amazing, powerful, Rabbi Avrohom Feldman, Shlita, Chazaq u'Baruch Yeshakayach.
Okay.
Yag Torah. Amazing Torah talk we just had with Rabbi Avrohom Feldman. And we want to thank the various different platforms that host Chazaq Torah Talks. And a special thank you to our friends at Torah Anytime. Also, thank you to our friends at Daily Giving. $1 a day goes really, really far away. It's an amazing concept, daily giving. Everyone should check it out and be part of it. And we want to wish everyone a Chag Sameach. And we should only give B'serot Tovot, only good news. And reminder, every single Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Chazaq Torah Talks with special guests. The feedback is amazing. Baruch Hashem, thank you Hashem, and we appreciate all the feedback everywhere I go. Baruch Hashem, smachot, happy occasions, events, to just daven in shuls here, there. People stop me, they tell me, the chidush, the insight that this rabbi said in this Torah talk, this is amazing, and continue sending us the feedback. And we should only have B'serot Tovot. We should all be zocher. We should all merit to see the Geulah Shlema, the complete redemption. And Shekam B'Meir Reinu Spilling our days. Amen.
Amen.
Shkayach.